Hey everyone, and happy Thanksgiving! This is Joe Beethoven, and I just couldn't think of a better way to honor the spirit of this holiday than by complaining. Specifically, complaining a bit more about the upcoming Spider Man DLC release for Marvel's Avengers. Now, in my previous video, I focused on the fact that there will be no story for this upcoming Spider Man release, and I'm still ticked off about that. That still angers me. But after uploading that video, I realized that I was kind of wrong. Not in terms of being upset, but honestly, I should have seen this coming. Now, to be clear, this is not an excuse for them. They're making a huge mistake by doing this. But I was looking back on the history of Avengers, the game, and when it came out, all the controversy surrounding it, and everything that's happened since its release. And I realized that this decision is actually very much on brand for Crystal Dynamics and its poor mindset on how to approach this game from the beginning all the way up to now. So, as you probably know, Avengers was released to very mixed reviews. People just weren't satisfied by the experience. It's what kept me from playing it for so long. It tried to satisfy everybody. Single-player people, multiplayer people, people who want strong narratives, people who want dozens of hours of play in different multiplayer maps. It tried to do it all, and it ended up pleasing almost nobody. This is the problem when you enter into something with the mindset of trying to appeal to everyone. You end up appealing to not many people because you're just not focused. The project isn't focused. This was the problem right off the bat for Marvel's Avengers. And yes, over time, Crystal Dynamics has focused on improving the image of the game with pretty solid DLC releases. There are a lot more fans now. The player base is happier than ever before right now. Things were looking up. But, as you may recall, Spider-Man was announced as a PlayStation exclusive before the game was even really out, before people really knew what it was like. And this was immediate controversy for a game that most people hadn't even played yet. The controversy bomb had already exploded, if you will. And this leads to a problem. Because Crystal Dynamics has spent so much time rehabilitating the image of Marvel's Avengers, trying to make everybody happy by fixing everyone's problems with it, fixing bugs, adding better content, trying to bolster the game's appeal, trying to make it more fun. And that's great, but this is really where the rubber meets the road, because they knew that eventually they would have to release Spider-Man, and they would have a choice to make. Do they create the best Spider-Man content possible, even though it will only be for PlayStation players? Do they create something fantastic, even though it means that Xbox players will miss out and they'll probably alienate Xbox players more than ever before? Or do they find a way to once again try to appeal to everybody? And of course, they made that choice, but this time they did it in a different way. I believe they chose to have no story very consciously so that everyone would be miserable. I believe they pandered to everyone by pandering to no one. Think about it like this. Xbox players were already ticked off before the game even came out because they knew they were never going to get to play as Spider-Man. So PlayStation players are thinking they basically have the definitive version of Avengers because they're going to get Spider-Man. Xbox players will never have Spider-Man, which means they'll never have the full Marvel's Avengers experience. So for the rest of time, Crystal Dynamics would have to deal with the fact that an entire portion of their fan base would feel cheated, would feel like they weren't experiencing all that Avengers had to offer. So they came up with a plan to basically follow the model they had for the game in the first place, attempting to make everybody happy. And of course, it went so well the first time. They decided that if Xbox players are going to be miserable, PlayStation players should be miserable. So instead of trying to make the greatest Spider-Man DLC they could, they just did the bare minimum to fulfill their requirement. They knew Spider-Man had to be released, so they did exactly that. They just released Spider-Man. PlayStation players get nothing else for having a PlayStation. They don't get new story. They don't get anything over Xbox players. They just have a new character to do everything that already exists in the game. And I realize that's what they've always done. They've always tried to find ways to make sure everybody's either happy or at least not ticked off. The only difference is this time they already knew people were ticked off and they couldn't fix it, so they decided to equalize it by ticking other people off. I think this was a very conscious decision, highlighted by them stating they wanted to focus on the claw raid because that's for everybody. I understand what they're saying, but it's also very revealing because it showed they didn't care about really fulfilling their promise to PlayStation fans. They just did what they thought they had to do, what they were contractually obligated to do, in order to make sure they could move past this controversy that has been hanging over Marvel's Avengers like a cloud the entire time. They just did the bare minimum so that now everyone's upset. No one gets an advantage. And while I don't appreciate console exclusive things, I never felt great about the fact that Spider-Man was a PlayStation exclusive. Doing this is not right. Doing this is wrong. Don't sacrifice quality just for the sake of making sure no one really feels left out. Spider-Man is forever going to be known as the character who brought nothing new to the table, who just showed up, and now you could just go around doing everything you've already done in the game in order to max out Spider-Man, who will have barely any dialogue and nothing really new in the Avengers dynamic. This is what we're facing now, and really, as I've been thinking about it, I'm not surprised anymore. Not because they're known for kind of messing up with this game, because I should have seen it coming that they would try to minimize damages rather than do something really, really great with Spider-Man. And I think that was a very intentional decision and one that I'm really upset about. Now, this is just a theory. It's just my opinion, but I think there's some evidence for it. I think that they just tried to make sure the controversy could go away as quickly as possible. They wanted to blow past it and try and focus on satisfying everybody again, and it makes sense. That's my opinion. Anyway, I wasn't planning on doing another rant, but I felt called to do it again as I had more thoughts about it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was sort of enlightening. I kind of consider it like a companion piece to my previous video. If you agree with me, please comment below. I want to hear all about it. If you disagree, that's fine too. It's just my opinion. Alright, but like I said in my last video, I'm reserving full judgment until the DLC actually comes out and I give my thoughts on it. It'll be a short video just about how Spider-Man feels to play. But right now, I'm even more upset about this Spider-Man DLC. Anyway, that's all for now. God bless you guys. I'll catchphrase you later, and happy Thanksgiving. Please enjoy your meals today. Be with your loved ones, and try not to think about how upset I am about this, how upset probably we all are. All right. Bye.